Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sam's Corner. And today we're doing a little something different. I have one of my very first Q&As. So I'm very excited for it. I like answering questions, and I'll be doing a couple of more videos like this very soon. So one of the first questions I received is a very, very good question. And it's a question that really doesn't have a true answer. It depends on the individual. And the question is early retirement, how much money do I need? And I would say that, to be honest, it really depends on you. If you're at a place where, maybe you've been working with the government, you've put in all of your years, and let's say you're like, I'm tired, I want to exit the workforce. Okay, well, that's good. Here are some things you're going to want to look at and consider before you consider early retirement. Number one, are you exiting the workforce completely, or are you just retiring from this job? Because that's very important. In one of my previous jobs, I had a coworker. She was 68 years old. She had taken early retirement from an employer, and she did some volunteer work, and she came back and she started to work again. What I've noticed recently is, I would say maybe 20 years ago, people would normally reach the age of 65, they would retire. The difference between then and now is a lot of people retiring maybe 20 or even 30 years ago is that they had a pension. And a pension is a retirement plan that basically gives you a guaranteed amount for life. So if you live to be 115, then it just keeps going. Most people these days have a TSP, which is a government plan, 401k for for-profit organizations, 403b for nonprofits, and other people also have an individual retirement account, a Roth or a traditional, and we'll go over those in subsequent videos. But the point I want to make is, a lot of times people don't exit the workforce anymore, or don't exit it fully. And so what I've seen, which I think is a very interesting trend, is people get to retirement age and oftentimes they haven't saved enough. And you'll hear people say, I want to retire, but I can't afford to. And I mean, there have been articles about it. There have been news segments about it, about people who are seniors going to work at Walmart just to be able to afford their medications. And in this COVID environment, what concerns me is that the cost of items are going to go up. If places have to sanitize, that costs, all of those costs, we don't think about it as consumers, but they get passed along to us in the form of higher prices for goods and fees. So those are some things to consider. I wonder, and this is just a random thought of mine, if retirement is going to be something that we're going to be forced to do, versus most people, well, I think I'll retire at 65, or no, I'll keep going. But I wonder if things continue down a certain road and more people can't afford to, I wonder if retirement is something that's going to be pushed. So that's just a random thought. I thought I would just throw that out there, just a little food for thought. But when you're looking at early retirement, you're going to have to, number one, look at your income. Is your income going to be the same as it is now, or is it going to drastically change? Of course, if your income is going to decrease, you're going to want to make sure that your expenses as well. My advice to you, if you're going into early retirement, your mortgage needs to be almost paid off or completely paid off. And the same with your credit cards and any other debt. You really don't want to enter retirement with huge amounts of debt loads and debt payments. That's just going to cause you more stress, especially if your income is not going to be the same. Now, some people are exiting the workforce per se with their 9-to-5 job, but they have other side hustles or other businesses that they do. And so if your income is going to be comparable or greater, then you'll be fine. The thing I want to mention is with early retirement, you always want to look at too, some companies will give you the option of benefits and things like that. And you always want to make sure that you understand what it means for early retirement. So I'll take, for example, Social Security. And if I'm wrong, someone correct me. But I believe if you retire or go for your benefits before the age of 65, I think it's between 62 to 65. If you opt for early benefits, you get a reduced amount. So that's always something to consider if you're looking at Social Security as a source of income. Overall, if you're going to do early retirement, you really want to look at your financial picture. You're going to want to look at your income. You're going to want to look at your expenses. You're going to want to look at where you are and then ask yourself, is this sustainable? Because here's the thing, your money needs to last you however long you expect to live. So you really need to look at what is the average life expectancy in your family. Do you have higher instances of maybe cancer? Any other issues in your family? Those things are very important when you're planning for retirement, because it's a difference when you're planning to retire at 65 versus 50. I mean, you can still retire at 65 and live to be 100. I mean, it's possible. But the goal is, if you're going to do early retirement, you really want to look at how much money do I have and can I afford to? And something I think that's going to be a trend for many Americans in the next, I'm thinking 10 to 20 years, is retiring in another country. Because here's the thing, as costs keep going up, you're going to want to look to where your money stretches. What a lot of people do who migrate to this country, they come here, they work, they become citizens, that's great. They get all the benefits, and what do? They go back home and retire. I have a friend who's going to be able to retire in a couple of years, and Social Security is going to be more than enough for her. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think in the long run, a lot of us are going to probably look to retire in other countries because it's going to be cheaper and our dollar will go further, and we won't need as much to have a very comfortable and nice standard of living. And I think that that's very important to consider. So, of course, let me just to kind of wrap things up, there isn't a defined amount. I can't say you need to have $1 million, because person A's life, person B's life, and person C's life are going to have various factors. And so I can't give you an exact dollar amount. But what I can say is, know how much income you're going to have, or if you have streams of income. That's important too. Know where you are financially as far as your expenses, debts, and everything like that. And then you have to also think about where you want to be in retirement. Because I want to say earlier this year, or maybe later last year, we at the organization I worked with, they had the financial planners come in there talking about retirement, and one of the planners, he said one of the most hilarious things. He said, well, what type of retirement do you want? He said, do you want the retirement when you're home watching Netflix eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, or do you want the retirement where you're traveling the world and all those things? He said either one is fine. He said, but which one do you want? Because depending on what you want determines how much you're going to save. And I thought it was I love people who are comical and can tell the truth and put things in such a very plain way. So I want to leave you with that. What kind of retirement do you want? Are you considering early retirement? Or do you think that that's something you can do? Or are you in a place where you're thinking, I'm tired of this 9 to 5 and I'm really ready to follow my goals, my dreams, and my passion, and I can early retire from this so I can focus on that. Whatever it is, just always be clear, map out a plan, and I'm also for talking with a professional, that's always a great way to gain perspective. Especially for oftentimes for most of us, what we don't realize is there's a customer service number. Sometimes there is someone that we can call, especially related to our retirement plans based on our employers where we work at, that we can talk to somebody. And I think it's very important to kind of have those conversations and kind of get that advice, and just remember, they're going to ask you those personal questions. They're going to ask you how old you are. Do you have any kids? What is your living situation like? What's your debt to equity ratio? They may ask you, well, why do you want to retire early? And based on this, they'll be able to answer all of those questions. So there are a lot of factors to consider with early retirement, let alone retirement. So I hope this video answers those questions. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all next time. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.